Welcome to my channel, USA Battle Zone. Today, I bring you a story carved from dust, danger, and the echo of gunfire across the western horizon. A tale about fear, courage, and the kind of love that survives even the darkest night. So sit back, turn up the volume, and let the wind of the Old West carry you into a world where outlaws choose the wrong hostage, and face the most feared gunslinger alive. The sun was lowering itself into the horizon like a wounded beast, dragging long shadows across the dry fields of the Crow Valley. Dust rolled lazily over the ground, kicked up by the hooves of cattle and the whispering wind. It was the kind of evening when the whole world looked as though it had been dipped in molten gold, beautiful, fragile, and quiet. Too quiet. Caleb Walker, owner of the Winthorn Ranch and known around these parts not for his might but for his kindness, stood on his porch staring out over the land he'd spent a decade building. His soft brown eyes reflected the colors of the dying sun. There was no reason for unease. Cattle were fed, fences repaired, men paid. But something tugged at the back of his mind as if the land itself was trying to warn him. Inside, laughter echoed through the open windows. His wife, Elara, was finishing supper preparations. The woman had a laugh like the sound of water over rocks, soft, musical, and endlessly calming. She was known only as Caleb's wife to most folks around Crow Valley and Oak Ridge Town. Beautiful, clever, polite. A homemaker, a healer, a keeper of gardens and warmth. To everyone else, to Caleb, she was sunlight woven into flesh. She was gentleness made human. And yet, every now and then, in the middle of a calm moment, he'd catch a shadow behind her eyes. Something old, something watchful, something dangerous. Elara never spoke of her past, never told stories of her childhood or her kin, and Caleb, being the man he was, never pushed. He simply trusted that whatever she had been through had shaped her into the remarkable woman beside him. He just never imagined that past would bleed into their present with the sharpness of a knife. The night came fast, too fast, and with it came the sound no rancher ever wants to hear. Horses, fast and reckless, pounding across the earth toward the house. Caleb stiffened. Dogs began barking wildly. Before he could step inside to warn Elara, 5 riders crested the hill, silhouetted against the moon. The Black Vultures. Every rancher, lawman, and drifter within 100 miles knew the name. The gang had robbed banks, derailed trains, and left more than one sheriff bleeding in the dirt. They took what they wanted and killed whoever stood in their way. Caleb's breath caught. He wasn't a fighter. He never had been. He'd never even aimed a gun at another living soul. His hands were made for building, not tearing things down. He backed toward the door, but the outlaws were too fast. One leapt from his horse, slammed Caleb to the ground, and jammed a boot on his chest. Well, the outlaw leader drawled. Caleb Walker in the flesh. Caleb wheezed. Why? You got the wrong place. I ain't got nothing for you. Oh, you've got plenty, the man with the snake tattoo on his throat replied with a grin that showed gold teeth. Heard you've been keepin' something mighty valuable on this ranch. Caleb froze. We don't keep valuables. Oh, but you do. The outlaw leaned close enough for Caleb to smell whiskey on his breath. Your wife. Caleb's blood turned cold. Before he could shout a warning, Elara appeared at the doorway. She had flour on her hands and a soft smile on her lips, the same smile she always wore when calling Caleb to supper, but it vanished the moment she saw the men surrounding him. Elara, Caleb gasped. Run. He didn't get to finish. One outlaw grabbed her from behind, a pistol pressed to her temple. She struggled, just for a moment, before going perfectly still. Her eyes, so gentle moments before, turned dark as iron cooling on an anvil. We're talkin'. The leader announced. Ransom should fetch a fine price. Rancher like you, folks'll pay whatever you ask. Caleb clawed at the ground, desperate. You don't understand. You can't take her. Please, shut him up. The world exploded in pain as a rifle butt smashed against his skull. Caleb hit the dirt, his vision blurred. The last thing he saw was his wife, his Elara, being dragged away, her expression unreadable, her gaze never leaving his as the outlaws rode off into the night. And then darkness swallowed him whole. Hours later, Caleb awoke to the taste of blood in his mouth and the cold bite of dawn creeping across the land. The house was ransacked, cabinets open, glass shattered. The dog still barked, restless and scared. Elara, Caleb whispered, struggling to his feet. Panic clawed its way up his throat. His knees nearly buckled. How was he supposed to save her? He wasn't a fighter. He wasn't a sheriff. He couldn't even fire a gun straight. He was helpless, or so he thought. Caleb stumbled into the bedroom, searching for anything that could help him track the outlaws. He opened Elara's wardrobe, looking for boots or anything they might have left behind. But instead, something else caught his eye. A box. A small, metal box, tucked behind her dresses, as if hidden on purpose. His trembling fingers pried it open. Inside lay 2 revolvers, polished, well kept, engraved with swirling ironwork. These weren't display pieces. These were weapons meant for hands that knew exactly how to use them. Alongside the guns lay a folded piece of parchment. Caleb's heart thudded violently as he opened it. If the past ever comes knocking, I'm sorry. It wasn't signed. It didn't need to be. Caleb's hands shook, but he grabbed the guns, strapped them to his belt, and walked outside. He didn't know how to fight, but he knew one thing. He wasn't letting the woman he loved slip away without a battle. He saddled his horse, eyes burning with pain and determination. Hold on, Elara, he whispered. I'm comin'. And with a sharp kick, he rode out into the dawn, chasing the tracks of the outlaws who had kidnapped his wife, and awakened something they should have left buried. Meanwhile, deep within the outlaw hideout, an abandoned mining camp nestled between jagged cliffs, Elara Walker sat with her hands tied, her expression calm. Too calm. The outlaws paced around triumphantly, laughing, drinking, and boasting about how much ransom money they would collect once Caleb received their letter. But the leader, Colt Vesper, wasn't laughing. He watched their captive with suspicion. You're mighty calm for a woman who's just been kidnapped, he said, folding his arms. Elara looked up. You made a mistake. Colt chuckled. Lady, the only mistake I made was not talkin' you sooner. No. Her voice was quiet, dangerously quiet. You don't know who I am. They laughed. They shouldn't have. Elara's eyes drifted around the camp, calculating. Counting heads, measuring distance, noting where the guns were, where the horses were tied, where the explosives were stored, where the shadows fell thickest. She wasn't afraid, not even close, but she was angry, not for herself, for Caleb, for dragging her gentle, peaceful husband into the storm she had spent years running from. Colt leaned down. Got something to tell me, sweetheart. Elara lifted her chin. Just one thing. And what's that? You're all dead. The camp burst into laughter again, but a flicker of uncertainty passed across a few faces. Colt scowled. What makes you think you got the right to say something like that? Elara whispered, because the moment my husband finds that box, he will come for me. And what's he gonna do? Colt mocked. Ranch boy don't know which end of a gun to point. She smiled. A slow, chilling smile. You're not scared of him, she said softly. You're scared of me. The laughter stopped. Colt stepped back, confused. You, what are you talking about? One of the outlaws, a younger man with missing fingers, squinted at her. Boss, she looks kinda familiar, don't she? I think I seen her. You haven't, Colt snapped. But Elara tilted her head. I've been known by many names, she murmured. You might recognize one. The men leaned in despite themselves. Elara Thorn. The name hit Colt like a strike of lightning. His face drained of color. Liar, he hissed. Elara Thorn's dead. She met his gaze. Not dead, just tired. The black vultures backed away. Even the boldest among them looked shaken. Elara Thorn, the ghost-shot widow, the most feared gunslinger west of the Badlands. A woman whose accuracy was the stuff of legend. Whose bounty posters had once hung in every sheriff's office. A woman who took on whole gangs alone and walked away without a scratch. And she was sitting right in front of them. Tied up, calm, watching them with eyes that had seen too much blood to fear anything anymore. Colt swallowed hard. So that's why. Yes, she cut in. That's why I disappeared. That's why I buried that life. And why you should have left me buried. Silence. Then Colt regained his footing in the only way he knew how, rage. Doesn't matter who you are now, he snarled. You're tied up, unarmed, and you're gonna buy us a heap of gold. Elara sighed softly. Colt, that's not what you should be afraid of. What then? She looked toward the horizon. My husband. Caleb rode harder than he ever had. The dust stung his eyes, his throat burned, and his muscles screamed in pain, but he didn't stop. Couldn't stop. He reached Oak Ridge by nightfall and slid off his horse near the sheriff's office. Sheriff Maddox, a grizzled man whose patience ran thinner than a knife edge, looked up from his desk as Caleb burst in. They took her, Caleb gasped. The Black Vultures. They took Elara. Maddox froze. Elara, he said slowly. Son, you sure? Yes. Please. You gotta help me. The sheriff stood with a groan, joints popping. Caleb, listen, if they got your wife, I'll send a posse. But the vultures, well, they're a death sentence for most. Caleb swayed. Sheriff. Maddox stepped forward, gripping Caleb's shoulder. Look, boy, there's something you need to know about your wife. Caleb blinked. What? Maddox hesitated, then whispered. She ain't who you think she is. Caleb frowned. What's that supposed to mean? But before Maddox could explain, a gunshot cracked outside. A warning shot. Then a rock shattered the sheriff's window. A note was tied to it. Maddox retrieved it, unfolding it grimly. They want you, he muttered. He handed Caleb the note. Bring $50,000 by tomorrow night. Come alone, or she dies. Caleb's vision blurred. Maddox exhaled. Caleb, you ain't ready for what you're walking into. Caleb reached into his belt, pulling out the revolvers he'd found in Elara's box. Maddox's eyes widened. Where'd you get those? Caleb's voice cracked. Her closet. The sheriff's breath left him in a hiss. Oh, hell, he muttered. Then it's worse than I thought. Back at the outlaw camp, the men were growing restless. Fear spread like a disease. Whispers slithered through the ranks. That's her. Elara Thorn. Thought she was dead. Boss should kill her now, before she starts killing us. Elara sat quietly, listening. Waiting. Colt approached her, rage boiling beneath his skin. You're nothing now. Just a ghost. A washed-up legend. You can't save yourself. No, she said softly. But I don't have to. A whistle cut through the air, sharp, piercing, unmistakable. The outlaws froze. Elara smiled. My husband found me. Colt scoffed. There's only one man. We got 20. That's why you should be afraid, she whispered. He won't stop until I'm safe. I know him. Colt glared. And how's he gonna find us? Elara tilted her head. I left him a trail. What trail? Her eyes glowed like dying embers. Me. Caleb emerged from the trees like a man possessed. Dirt streaked his face. Sweat matted his hair. His knuckles were white around the grips of Elara's revolvers. The moon cast silver light across the outlaw camp. He saw her instantly. Her wrists bound. Dirt on her cheek. But she was alive. Elara. Caleb shouted. Her head snapped up. Eyes widening. Not with fear, but with a pride so fierce it stole her breath. Caleb. She whispered. You came. Colt laughed. Look at this. Ranch boy thinks he's a hero. Caleb raised his guns with trembling hands. He didn't feel strong. He didn't feel brave. He felt fear. Raw, burning fear, but he stood anyway. For her, he said softly. Colt strode toward him. Put those guns down before you shoot your damn foot off. Caleb shook. Let her go. No. Caleb swallowed. Then I'll make you. The camp went silent. Colt smirked. You ain't got the guts. Elara's voice cut through the air like a blade. Caleb. Her tone changed. Low, commanding, steady. Focus on me. He turned toward her. Don't look at him. Don't listen to them. Look at me. Their eyes locked. You came for me, she whispered. And now I'm going to come home with you. But I need you to breathe. Just breathe. Caleb inhaled shakily. Colt snarled. Enough of this. But before he could finish, Elara moved. Fast. She jerked her bound hands under her legs, brought them to the front, and lunged for the gun hanging on the nearest outlaw's belt. In one swift motion, she smashed her cuffs on a sharp rock, breaking the chain, grabbed the gun, and dove into a roll. The camp erupted. Gunfire tore through the air. Elara moved like lightning, her body remembering every battle she'd ever fought. She wasn't just good, she was terrifying. Her shots were clean, precise, merciless. Caleb watched, awestruck, as the woman he loved became a storm. She shot a rifle out of one outlaw's hands, disarmed another with a twist of her wrist, and used a fallen table as cover as bullets rained toward her. Colt tried to grab her from behind, but she slammed her elbow into his ribs and kicked him backward. Caleb snapped out of his trance when an outlaw charged toward her. Without thinking, Caleb fired. The bullet hit the man's shoulder. Caleb's hands shook violently, but he didn't stop. Elara glanced at him, pride blazing in her eyes. "You're doing great," she called out. "I'm terrified," he yelled back. "That means you're alive." They fought together, him clumsy but determined, her graceful and lethal. Every time Caleb faltered, Elara covered him. Every time she was cornered, Caleb distracted the attacker long enough for her to move. The camp quickly turned into chaos. Outlaws scrambled for cover, their fear of Elara returning in full force. Finally, only Colt was left. He staggered backward, face pale, clutching his pistol. "Elara, please. You kidnapped me," she said coldly. "You threatened my husband. It was just ransom. And this," she said, stepping forward, "is just justice." Colt fired, but Elara was faster. Her bullet shattered his gun and sent him crashing onto his back, wind knocked out of him. She stood over him, panting, chest rising and falling, eyes hard as stone. Then she lowered the gun. "Not today," she said. "I'm done killing." Colt collapsed, sobbing. Elara turned, and ran straight into Caleb's arms. He held her like the world was ending. She buried her face in his shoulder, breath trembling. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I never wanted you to know who I was." "I don't care who you were," Caleb breathed. "I care who you are." She pulled back, tears shining. "I tried to leave it behind. And you have," he said. "We'll face whatever comes next together." She rested her forehead against his. "You saved me," he laughed shakily. "I think you did most of the saving." "No," she whispered. "You came for me. That's the bravest thing anyone has ever done." Their lips met softly. Dirt, blood, fear, and all. Held together not by perfection, but by love strong enough to survive bullets, secrets, and shadows. The sun rose behind them. A new day, a new life, together. And that, my friends, is the story of how the most feared gunslinger in the West found a new life, a new love, and a reason to lay her guns to rest. If you enjoyed this cinematic tale and want more stories like this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to USA Battle Zone. Until next time, stay brave, stay wild, and ride toward the sunset.